The red emergency lights flashed across the white walls of Medical Outpost 7. Captain June Kim moved quickly through the narrow hallway, his medical coat fluttering behind him. 3 wounded soldiers had just arrived from the front lines, and his team needed to work fast. Do-hyun, prepare the surgery room, June called to his friend and second in command. Lieutenant Do-hyun Park nodded and rushed ahead. Specialist Hyeri Lee was already checking the vital signs of the most badly hurt. Soldier, Captain, this one needs immediate surgery. Pulse dropping fast. June nodded. This was normal life at the edge of human space. The United Earth Forces had been fighting border skirmishes with the Vakari Dominion for years now. The bug-like aliens had been pushing into human territory, claiming worlds that people had already settled. But even in war, some rules were followed. Medical personnel were not targets. Both humans and most alien races had agreed to this basic rule. Will he make it, Captain? Asked a young nurse as June scrubbed his hands. He will. That's why we're here, June said firmly. He had been a field surgeon for 8 years. His steady hands had saved hundreds of lives, both military and civilian. 6 hours later, all 3 soldiers were stable. June sat in the small break room, sipping a cup of bitter coffee. Do-hyun joined him, looking tired but satisfied. Good work today, June said. These outposts may not be fancy like the hospitals back on Earth, but we saved just as many lives out here. Their conversation was interrupted by the emergency comm system. Captain Kim to command, urgent message. June rushed to the communication room. The station commander's face looked grim on the screen. Captain, we have civilians trapped on Outpost Theta. Their colony was hit in a surprise attack. They need immediate medical evacuation. Your team is the closest. How many wounded? June asked, already mentally preparing. At least 20, many children among them. We'll leave immediately, June said. Prepare the medical shuttle. Within 30 minutes, the small medical shuttle was ready for launch. The ship was clearly marked with the red cross symbol recognized throughout human space and by all signatories of the Galactic Convention on Combat Medicine. The Vakari had signed this treaty too, even if they followed few other human customs. Hyeri checked their medical supplies while Do-hyun prepared the shuttle's small operating room. 5 nurses completed their team. The shuttle detached from the outpost and set course for the colony. ETA 40 minutes. The pilot announced. We're broadcasting our medical identification signals on all channels. June nodded. The treaty was clear. Medical vehicles were not to be targeted, and they were not to carry weapons. Their shuttle had no defenses except the universally recognized symbols of medical service. They were halfway to their destination when the shuttle's alarms blared. Captain, Vakari patrol vessel approaching fast, the pilot shouted. They're targeting us. That's impossible, June said. Broadcast our identification again. Make it clear we're on a medical mission. The pilot's fingers flew over the controls. Already doing it, sir. They're receiving our signal, but they're still on an intercept course. The first blast rocked the shuttle, throwing June against the wall. Warning lights flashed everywhere. Direct hit to our engine, the pilot yelled. They're firing again. June couldn't believe what was happening. This was a clear violation of the most basic rules of war. Everyone get to the escape pods. Do-hyun, help me with the emergency medical packs. The second blast tore through the shuttle's middle section. June felt the air pressure drop as part of the hull was breached. He heard screaming, then silence from the cockpit. Through the smoke, he saw Hyeri lying motionless, a piece of metal lodged in her chest. He rushed to her, but one look told him she was already gone. Captain, Do-hyun shouted from behind him. We need to move now. They grabbed the emergency supplies and rushed to help the nurses get to the escape pods. The shuttle was spinning now, gravity failing as the system shut down. Launch the pods, June ordered once everyone was secured. Only he and Do-hyun remained in the dying shuttle. As they made their way to the last escape pod, another blast hit. Do-hyun was thrown across the corridor, slamming hard into the wall. June pulled him into the pod just as the shuttle began to break apart. The small pod ejected, tumbling away from the exploding medical shuttle. Through the small window, June watched in horror as the Vakari ship methodically fired on some of the other escape pods. The pod crashed onto the surface of a small rocky moon. The impact was rough, throwing both men against the restraints. When Jun regained consciousness, he immediately checked on Do-hyun. His friend was alive but badly hurt. A metal shard had pierced his side and he was bleeding heavily. "Hang on," Jun said, opening the emergency medical kit. "I'll stop the bleeding." Did they target us on purpose?" Do-hyun asked weakly. "I don't know," Jun answered, his hands working quickly to treat the wound. "It doesn't make sense. Even the Vakari respect medical neutrality." Hours passed in the small pod. Jun did everything he could for Do-hyun, but the internal injuries were severe, and their supplies were limited. Outside, the airless moon offered no help. While Do-hyun slept fitfully, Jun examined the pod's systems. The communication array was damaged but still partially functional. He managed to send a distress signal, hoping human forces would find them, before the Vakari returned. Then he noticed something strange. The pod had automatically recorded nearby transmissions before the crash. There was a Vakari communication that had been picked up and translated by the shuttle's systems. Jun played it back, his blood running cold as he listened. Target confirmed as human medical transport. Proceeding with attack as ordered. Testing. Effectiveness of new directive. This was no accident, no mistake. The Vakari had deliberately targeted them as part of some new military strategy. Do-hyun woke, coughing blood. Any response to our signal?" "Not yet," Jun said, moving to check his friend's condition. It was worsening rapidly. "Listen," Do-hyun said, gripping Jun's arm with surprising strength. "If I don't make it, you will," Jun insisted. "Help will come." "If I don't," Do-hyun continued, "you have to tell them what happened here. The Vakari. They can't be allowed to target medics. It goes against everything. Everything we stand for." Jun nodded grimly. "I'll tell them, and they'll pay for this." Do-hyun's grip weakened. "Not revenge, Jun, justice. We're doctors. We save lives." "Even after this?" Jun asked bitterly. "Especially after this," Do-hyun whispered. "That's what makes us different from them." 3 hours later, despite everything Jun tried, Do-hyun died. Jun sat in the cold escape pod, his friend's body beside him, and made a promise. The Vakari had crossed a line. They had attacked healers, people whose only purpose was to save lives. This couldn't go unanswered. When rescue finally came 2 days later, Jun was half frozen, but alive. He carried with him the recording that proved the attack was no accident, and the memory of a promise made to a dying friend. The war had just changed, and so had Jun Kim. The Vakari had attacked their medics. Now, one way or another, Earth would respond. 3 months had passed since the attack. Captain Jun Kim stood at the window of his apartment in Seoul, looking out at the city, but seeing only memories. The nightmares still came every night. The explosion, Hyeri's lifeless body, Do-hyun dying, in his arms. The door chime broke his thoughts. Jun wasn't expecting anyone. He opened the door to find a woman in a military uniform standing there. "Captain Kim? I'm Colonel Minji Han. I need you to come with me. It's about the Vakari." Jun felt his heart rate increase. "Have there been more attacks?" Colonel Han's face was grim. 17 documented incidents since your shuttle was hit. Over 200 medical personnel dead. The military car took them to a secured building outside the city. After passing through multiple security checkpoints, they entered a large underground facility. "What is this place?" Jun asked. "A special operations center," Colonel Han explained. "Created specifically to deal with the Vakari medical attacks." They entered a conference room where several people waited. One woman stood up immediately. She had short black hair and intelligent eyes behind simple glasses. "Captain Kim, this is Dr. Sun-woo Kang," Colonel Han said, "our leading expert on Vakari biology." Sun-woo nodded politely. "I've read your report about the attack, Captain. I'm sorry about your team." Jun acknowledged her with a nod. The others in the room were introduced as military officers and government officials. They all looked serious, even angry. Colonel Han activated a large screen on the wall. Images appeared of destroyed medical facilities, burned shuttles, and body bags. The Vakari have expanded their attacks, she explained. They're not just hitting shuttles now. They've targeted hospitals on border worlds, medical supply ships, even a medical school. A man at the end of the table spoke up. We've tried diplomatic channels. The Vakari High Command denies any policy change, but our intelligence says otherwise. They're deliberately targeting our medical infrastructure. But why? June asked. What do they gain from this? Colonel Han looked at Sunwoo, who stood up and approached the screen. She tapped it, bringing up images of Vakari anatomy. The Vakari don't think like us, Sunwoo explained. Their society is built on strength. In their culture, those who can't fight are worthless. Their own injured are often left to die if they can't heal themselves. They don't have doctors? June asked. Surprised. They have a medical caste, Sunwoo said. But they function differently. They don't treat all injured equally. They focus on preserving the elite warriors and leadership. Common soldiers are expendable. She changed the image to show a Vakari medical facility. We believe they see our medical practices as a strategic weakness. By helping all our wounded return to battle, we're prolonging the war in their eyes. Colonel Han took over. Captain Kim, we've been authorized to form a special response team. Its mission is to infiltrate Vakari space and target their medical infrastructure. June stared at her in shock. You want to attack their medics? That makes us no better than them. It's more complicated than that, Sunwoo said quickly. She showed new images. Vakari medical facilities with weapons labs attached. Their medical caste doesn't just heal. They develop biological weapons. We have evidence they're creating diseases that specifically target humans. She played a video showing humans in a quarantine zone, their skin covered in painful blue lesions. This was released on a border colony 3 weeks ago. It only affects humans, not even other mammals. It was engineered. June felt sick watching the suffering. So they're using medicine as a weapon. Exactly, Colonel Han said. We're calling the mission Operation Hippocratic Retribution. We need someone who understands both medicine and combat to lead it. Someone who has seen firsthand what the Vakari are willing to do. June understood now why he was here. You want me to lead this team? Yes, Colonel Han confirmed. You have the medical expertise and combat training. More importantly, you understand what's at stake. June thought of Do-hyun's last words. Not revenge. Justice. Could this really be justice? Or was it just revenge dressed up as something noble? I need time to think, he said. Of course, Colonel Han replied. Dr. Kang will show you more of our intelligence, then decide. The next day, Sunwoo took June to a secure lab. She showed him more evidence of the Vakari biological weapons program and their methods. They don't just target active medical personnel, she explained. They're developing ways to contaminate medical supplies, turn healing equipment into weapons. They want to destroy our ability to heal. And what exactly would our mission do? June asked. Disrupt their bioweapon research, destroy their weapons, gather intelligence, Sunwoo said. But we need someone who understands medical systems to help us target precisely. We don't want to harm patients if we can avoid it. June considered. This. You're asking me to help you design attacks that won't kill the innocent? Yes, Sunwoo admitted. I'm a doctor too, Captain Kim. I took an oath to do no harm. But these weapons the Vakari are creating will kill millions if deployed. Sometimes the ethical choice isn't clear. That evening, June sat alone in his temporary quarters. He looked at a photo of his medical team, Do-hyun and Hyeri smiling beside him. What would they want him to do? His comm unit beeped. A message from Colonel Han. Another medical shuttle was hit today. No survivors. June made his decision. The next morning, he stood before Colonel Han. I'll do it, but with conditions. We target only military medical research and bioweapon facilities. No attacks on places that only treat patients. Colonel Han nodded. Agreed. Dr. Kang will be your science officer. She'll help identify appropriate targets. I'll need a team, June said. Already selected, Colonel Han replied. She brought up images of 3 people on the screen. Special Forces operatives, all volunteers. Each has lost someone to Vicari attacks on medical facilities. The first was a tall man with a serious face. Lieutenant Taehyun Choi, demolitions, expert, lost his wife in the attack on Seoul Medical Center. The second was a woman with short hair and cold eyes. Sergeant Ji-woo Yoon, infiltration specialist. Her brother was a medic killed in the first wave of attacks. The third was a younger man with a scar across his chin. Corporal Min Seo Kwon, communications and tech expert, survived the attack on Outpost 12's hospital. Half his face is reconstructed. When do we start training? June asked. Immediately, Colonel Han said. You have 3 weeks to become a team. Then you ship out disguised as a neutral trading vessel. Later, June found Sunwoo in the lab, studying Vicari physiology charts. Are you sure about this? He asked her. You're a doctor. This goes against your oath. Sunwoo looked up, her eyes troubled but determined. My oath is to prevent suffering. These bioweapons would cause untold misery. Sometimes you have to cauterize a wound to heal it. June nodded slowly. Let's make sure we're the right kind of fire then, not just destroying, cleansing. As the team began training, June kept Do-hyun's words in his mind. This wasn't about revenge. It was about justice. It was about protecting the innocent from those who would turn healing into hurting. The Vicari had attacked Earth's medics. Now humans would show them the true meaning of, first, do no harm. By stopping those who did harm. First, the trading ship Star Merchant drifted through Vicari space. From the outside, it looked like any other neutral vessel carrying goods between systems. Inside, Captain June Kim and his team prepared for their first mission. Approaching Vicari, outpost, Taehyun said from the pilot's seat. They're scanning us now. June nodded, watching the alien station grow larger on the screen. Their ship's fake identity had passed 3 checkpoints already. The disguise was working. Remember, Sunwoo said, checking her equipment. We're here to gather intelligence first. We need to confirm which facilities are producing bioweapons before we strike. The plan was simple. Dock at the trading outpost, hack into the Vicari network, and find information about their medical research centers. Ji-woo would handle the infiltration while Min Seo worked on the computer systems. Docking permission granted, Taehyun announced. They believe we're here to trade human luxury goods. The Yar. Ship connected to the station with a dull thump. Ji-woo and Min Seo prepared to leave, disguised as merchants. They had practiced for weeks, learning how to move and speak like civilian traders. Be careful, June told them. If you're discovered, abort immediately. We'll extract you. Ji-woo nodded, her face showing no fear. 8 hours, then we're back with what we need. After they left, June paced nervously in the ship's small command center. Sunwoo watched him with understanding eyes. This waiting is the hardest part, she said. I'm not used to sending others into danger, June admitted. As a doctor, I'm usually the one going to help. 6 tense hours later, Ji-woo's voice came through their secure comlink. Captain, we found something big. We're heading back now. The tension in her voice worried June. What did you find? Not over comms, Ji-woo replied. But we need to move fast. When Ji-woo and Min Seo returned, their faces were pale. Min Seo connected a data drive to the ship's computer. This is worse than we thought, he said as images appeared on the screen. We hacked into their military medical network. Look at this. The screen showed a large facility on a planet called Proxima Vicaria 4. The building was massive, with heavy security and multiple labs. This is their main bioweapon research center, Min Seo explained. But it's not just weapons they're developing. There. He showed more images. Humans and other alien species in cells. Test subjects. They're experimenting on prisoners, Ji-woo said, her voice hard with anger. Using them to perfect their weapons. And look at this. The next file showed a plan labeled Operation Mercy Cull. Sunwoo translated the Vicari text, her face growing darker with each word. They're planning to release weaponized pathogens at all major human medical centers in contested space, she said. The goal is to completely destroy our medical infrastructure and spread panic. When? June asked. 2 weeks, Minseo replied. The weapons are almost ready for deployment. June made a quick decision. Change of plans. We're going to Proxima Vicari 4 immediately. That's deep in their territory, Taehyun warned. Heavy security. We don't have a choice, June replied. If these weapons deploy, millions will die. 3 days later, their ship orbited Proxima Vicari 4, disguised as a supply vessel. June, Jiwoo, and Taehyun prepared to land on the surface in a small shuttle while Sunwoo and Minseo remained on the main ship. The facility is in a remote area, Sunwoo explained, showing them the layout one last time. Your target is the central lab. Place the charges there and it should destroy their research. What about the prisoners? June asked. Sunwoo hesitated. The mission parameters didn't include rescue operations. It may not be possible to save them and still complete the mission. June remembered Do-hyun's words again. Not revenge, justice. We'll try to save them if we can. The shuttle landed in a forest 5 kilometers from the facility. The team moved quietly through the alien landscape, avoiding Vicari patrols. The planet's air was breathable for humans but had a strange, sweet smell. Security is heavy, Jiwoo observed through binoculars. 4 guard posts, motion sensors, air defense. We'll use the supply entrance, June decided. Taehyun, can you create a distraction? Taehyun nodded, pulling out a small device. 1 explosion coming up, far side of the facility. 5 minutes. When the explosion rocked the far perimeter, alarms blared across the facility. Guards rushed to respond. The team slipped in through the supply entrance during the confusion. Inside, they moved quickly through service corridors. Jiwoo led the way, her infiltration training guiding them past security points. The main lab should be 2 levels down, she whispered. They found an elevator and descended. The doors opened to reveal a nightmare. The lab was huge, filled with test tubes, strange machines, and holding cells. Inside the cells were people, humans and other aliens, all showing signs of experimentation. My God, June whispered. A Vicari in a medical uniform worked at a console nearby, its insect-like hands moving quickly across the controls. It hadn't noticed them yet. Plant the charges, June ordered Taehyun. Jiwoo, see if you can find the cell release controls. As they moved, the Vicari turned and saw them. It reached for an alarm, but Jiwoo was faster. She knocked it unconscious with a quick blow. Hurry, she urged. Taehyun set explosive charges at key points in the lab while June examined the prisoners. Many were sick, showing symptoms of the bioweapons, being tested on them. We need to get them out, he said. Some won't survive without immediate treatment. Jiwoo found the cell controls and released the locks. Prisoners began stumbling out, confused and frightened. We're here to help, June told them using the translation device. We'll get you to safety. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. We've been detected, Taehyun warned. We have 10 minutes at most before this place is swarming with guards. They led the prisoners toward the exit, but a squad of Vicari guards appeared, blocking their path. Taehyun and Jiwoo engaged them, but in the firefight, a stray shot hit Minseo in the chest. He fell, bleeding badly. June rushed to help him while Jiwoo and Taehyun fought off the guards. Hold on, he said, applying pressure to the wound. But it was bad. Minseo needed surgery soon or he wouldn't make it. As more guards approached, they were forced to retreat into a side room with the prisoners. They were trapped. We need another way out, Jiwoo said, checking her weapon. One of the prisoners, a small female Vicari with damaged antennae, approached June. Unlike the others, she wore a simple version of the medical uniform. I help, she said in broken human language. I know way out, I heal her here. June stared in surprise. You're one of their medics? Why would you help us? The Vicari medic looked at Minseo's wound, then at the other prisoners. Not all Vicari think same. Some must believe all life worth saving. I Krell. I help you. You take me with you. June looked at his team, then at the wounded Minseo and the frightened prisoners. They had no choice but to trust her. "Lead the way, Krell," he said. "But know this, if you betray us, you'll never leave this facility alive." Krell led them through narrow maintenance tunnels that smelled of chemicals and decay. June carried Minseo, who grew weaker with each passing minute. The freed prisoners followed quietly, their eyes wide with fear and hope. "How much further?" Jiwoo asked, watching their rear. "Not far," Krell replied in her broken human speech. "Emergency exit ahead. Few guards there." Taehyun checked the timer on his explosives. 10 minutes until this place blows. We need to hurry." They reached a small door. Krell entered a code and it slid open to reveal the outside world. But 2 Vakari guards stood nearby. Before anyone could react, Krell stepped forward and spoke rapidly in the clicking Vakari language. The guards hesitated, then lowered their weapons. Krell gestured for the humans to follow. "What did you tell them?" June asked suspiciously. "Said prisoners for transfer. Emergency medical need," Krell explained. The young guards knew. They believe medical authority. They moved quickly across the open ground toward the forest where their shuttle waited. The guards watched but didn't follow. "I don't like this," Jiwoo whispered. "It's too easy." Just as they reached the tree line, alarms blared from the facility. A voice boomed over loudspeakers in the harsh Vakari language. "They know," Krell said urgently. "Run now." They sprinted through the forest. Behind them, the sounds of pursuit grew louder. June struggled with Minseo's weight, the wounded man barely conscious. "Almost there," Taehyun called, pointing ahead to where their shuttle waited. Suddenly the ground shook with a massive explosion. The facility behind them erupted in flames and smoke. "Charges went off early," Taehyun said in surprise. "No, time to wonder why," June replied, "and get to the shuttle." They reached the shuttle and loaded everyone aboard. Taehyun rushed to the controls and started the engines. Vakari troops appeared at the forest edge, weapons firing. "Go, go!" Jiwoo shouted. The shuttle lifted off, taking fire but rising quickly into the sky. Soon they were safely in orbit, approaching their main ship. Once aboard, June immediately took Minseo to the medical bay. The wound was severe, but with Sunwoo's help they stabilized him. "He needs better care than we can provide." "Here," Sunwoo said. June nodded, then turned to Krell, who had been watching quietly. "Now explain. Why did you help us? And why did those guards listen to you?" Krell's insect-like face was hard to read, but her voice carried emotion. Was medical supervisor, in charge of testing, but I not agree with using living beings as test subjects against true healing purpose." "You're a rebel among your own people?" Sunwoo asked. "Not only me," Krell replied. "Many young medical caste question leadership. Question why we make weapons instead of healing. We have small network, working against bioweapons program." She pulled out a small device and handed it to June. "This has proof, evidence of what Vakari High Command doing. Not just weapons, plans to use disease on civilian targets, against our own medical ethics rules." June took the device and gave it to Minseo, who was conscious again. "Can you verify this?" Minseo examined it weakly. "It's genuine, and there's more here than just plans, names, locations, authorization codes." He looked up at June, "Including who authorized the attack on our medical shuttle." "Who?" June asked, his voice tight. "The medical archon," Minseo said. "The head of their entire medical caste. Someone called Vexkar." Krell made a strange clicking sound. "Vexkar commands all medical research. His word is final. He ordered policy to target human healers, called it strategic efficiency." June felt a cold anger unlike anything he had experienced before. "Where is this Vexkar now?" "Central Medical Command," Krell answered. "On Vakari homeworld, most secure place in Dominion." Taehyun, who had been listening from the doorway, stepped forward. "You're not thinking of going there, are you? It's suicide." "No," June said quietly. "It's justice. For 3 days, they planned. Krell provided information about the Central Medical Command's security systems, layout, and personnel routines. Min Seo, though still recovering, worked on a way to broadcast from within the facility to all Vakari medical networks. If we can expose what Vexkar has been doing to his own people, June explained, we might cause enough internal conflict to stop the bioweapon program. It's still incredibly risky, Sunwoo said. Even with Krell's help, getting in and out alive will be nearly impossible. I'm not asking anyone to come with me, June replied. This is my choice. We're all going, Jiwoo said firmly. Even Min Seo insists on monitoring from the ship. We finish this together. On the 7th day, their ship entered the Vakari home, system using codes Krell had provided. They posed as a medical transport carrying special research materials. With Krell's help, they were granted landing clearance at a secondary port near the Central Medical Command. June, Jiwoo, and Taehyun, disguised as transport workers with Krell as their escort, made their way into the massive complex that served as the heart of Vakari medical operations. The medical Archon's chambers are on the highest level, Krell whispered as they rode a lift upward. Security will be heavy there. Let us worry about that, Jiwoo replied, checking her weapons. When the doors opened, 4 guards confronted them. Immediately, Jiwoo and Taehyun moved with practiced efficiency, neutralizing them without raising an alarm. This way, Krell urged, leading them down a wide corridor. At the end stood an ornate door, marked with Vakari symbols. Creel typed a code, but the panel flashed red. He's changed the security, she clicked in frustration. Taehyun stepped forward with a small device. Give me 1 minute. 58 seconds later, the door slid open. Inside was a large chamber filled with advanced medical equipment and displays. At the center stood a tall Vakari with elaborate markings on his exoskeleton. Vexkar. The medical Archon turned in surprise, then recognition filled his compound eyes. Humans, he clicked in perfect English. How did you get in here? His gaze fell on Krell. Ah, betrayal from within. How disappointing. You ordered the attack on our medical shuttle, June said, stepping forward. You violated the most basic rule of warfare across the galaxy, that healers are not targets. Vexkar made a sound like laughter. Such a primitive concept. Your healing practices extend the war by returning weak units to battle. Targeting your medical infrastructure is simply efficient strategy. June felt rage building but controlled. Now, Min Seo, he said into his communicator. Throughout the chamber, screens lit up. They were now broadcasting to every Vakari medical facility across their territory. Your entire medical cast can hear us now, June told Vexkar. They can see the evidence of what you've done. Not just attacking our healers, but experimenting on sentient beings, creating weapons that violate your own ancient medical codes. Vexkar lunged for a control panel, but Taehyun was faster, blocking his path. Your young medics already question you, June continued. Krell and others like her remember what Vakari medicine used to stand for before you corrupted it. On the screens, images from Krell's data device played. The experiments, the plans for mass civilian attacks, the orders targeting medical personnel. Vexkar shrieked in rage and pulled a hidden weapon. He fired at June, the blast grazing his shoulder. June fell back in pain as Jiwoo and Taehyun responded, wounding the medical Archon. Vexkar collapsed, green fluid leaking from his injuries. He glared up at June with hatred. Finish it then, human. Your revenge. June looked down at the fallen Archon, remembering Dohyun and Hyeri. How easy it would be to end this creature who had caused so much suffering. Instead, he opened his medical kit and began treating Vexkar's wounds. What are you doing? The Archon asked in confusion. Showing you the difference between us, June replied as he worked. Human medics treat everyone, even our enemies. That's what makes us healers, not killers. As Vakari security forces finally broke through the door, they found the medical Archon, alive but restrained, with evidence of his crimes playing on every screen throughout Vakari space. Time to go, Jiwoo urged, but they didn't have to fight their way out. Many of the Vakari medical staff, having seen the broadcasts, helped them escape. A revolution had begun.